Hi, I'm Julianne Neal, and I'm really excited to be speaking with one of our new EQUUS authors this year, Nikki Porter. Nikki, welcome to the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, good. We're going to speak a little bit about two things today, but mostly since you're one of our EQUUS authors, your book, The Conscious Communicator, has been submitted for a category, and that is the pursuit of joy and human connection inspired by the art of horsemanship. And you caught me already with the title. I love it.
Wonderful.
And we're also going to talk a little bit about, you have a podcast with us also, and an online course. So a lot of foundational work with Take the Reins. And so could you tell us a little bit, first of all, about the book, The Conscious Communicator?
Okay, so, well, it's funny because you already said the word foundation, and really that's what it's all about. Is my work really focuses on the personal foundation of equestrians, because I think a lot of our focus goes on the foundation of our horses. And so this book actually came about when I had seen a line, and they approached it like it was heavy, so it was. And I played that line over my head, and I kept making these connections to my life, my horsemanship, and just even down to just how I picked up my reins. And I remember replaying it, and I woke up one night and I wrote it out, and I built the book around that particular line. So I wrote the book feeling like I wanted to take what horses could offer us and give it to the rest of the world. And then I realized that it's actually the horse people, it's the equestrians that I really need to hone that message in on. So that's where the book came from. And it's really about communication, and how do we communicate from a conscious level, and bring that awareness into our communication in order to have more joy in all of our relationships, right?
Well, and I've read in some of the writing that you have a lot of C's in there. So it's confidence and taking control of your life and all that. So I love how I can remember when it's alliterated. Yeah. So I do notice also that you have sort of two audiences. You have the horse community, but you also are reaching out to folks who are not at all horse related, or maybe won't have access to horses. And so what has been the response from that part of your audience?
That's been a really interesting dynamic, because I wrote it feeling like I was being too restrictive by writing just to horse people. And then I realized that I really enjoyed communicating to the horse people, but I had already kind of put it out there as like, this is the lessons that that we get taught as horse people, that there are so many people that don't get these lessons because they don't have the privilege and the opportunity to work with these animals. So what I guess I've received is just this. I've had people come to me who are saying, I'm just reading it now and I'm just getting into horses. Or I have one of my best friends actually, who she has nothing to do with horses. And she said it really just allowed her to see different shifts that she could make in her own communication, and just appreciated it from a different perspective. So I really felt like you didn't have to be a horse person. I've been told that that's the case, but the rest of my teaching really is geared towards equestrians. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I noticed too, it sounds like you have not only just the philosophical side of it and the mental foundation and everything, but some exercises as well. Yeah. So do you give people things to take away and work on once they finish a chapter or a segment of the book?
Yeah. So at the end of each chapter, there's an exercise. So and it's funny because it was prompted by or inspired by a book that I read, and it was about empowering women. And after each chapter, they had this exercise that made me take a step back and really assess what the chapter is actually on, because I have a habit of reading everything and reading all of the time. I'm like one of those people I'm addicted to knowledge, right? So I read it, but then it tends to leave me, and I really wanted people to read it and then put it into practice. I wanted this to be an action piece. So something that actually allowed people to change their lives, not just read about it and be like, oh, that would be ideal. That would be great to do. But now what? So yes, each chapter has an exercise. And I really find that it helps people bring home the message. So it makes it a little more personal, makes them more accountable, makes them more aware. So yeah, that's why I put it.
And would you say the podcast and the online course kind of also tie in with that a little bit? So if somebody wanted the whole picture, start with the book and then continue with the rest?
Yeah. So the podcast, actually, interesting that you say that, because the podcast, my last solo episode, was all about an exercise that I teach that has to do with like changing our story around our horse, ourselves, and our life. So it's great to know that we need to change the story, but how do we do that? And how do we make ourselves more accountable without taking on guilt? So that's really, the podcast offers amazing interviews with people who are very inspiring. And then the solo episodes kind of coach you through. The last, I think it was 3 or 4 solo episodes have all been around personal awareness and growing our personal awareness, and then the effects that has on our horsemanship.
Well, it sounds like just a well-integrated bunch of stuff. So I'm really excited about it. So what's been the most rewarding thing as far as all of the projects for you? What's been the most rewarding?
I would say the most rewarding is just receiving messages from people saying that it has the work, particularly the book, because I set out one goal, my goal, and I even have it written in there. I have what's called the heart list, not your necessarily your like bucket list, but sort of same idea. And that was to change and impact one person's life. And beyond that first message that I received, where someone said, listen, like this changed my life, how I show up for my horse, how I show up for my partner, how I show up for my children. Beyond that message, it's just every message has been a blessing. So people just saying, you know, this work is something that I needed. I needed to see myself in a piece of literature, and that's what they're able to receive. So
that's wonderful. Congratulations on that. That's exciting.
Thank you.
So how would someone find you if they wanted to find all 3, book, podcast, and online course? Where would they find you online?
Well, the best thing's definitely the website. So nikkiporter.ca. And right now there's just a wait list for the course, and it's in the process of being built. I've done workshops and just bringing that all together into one. And I personally, I love my Instagram account, because that's where I get my little bouts of inspiration, and that's where it all flows into. And I'm starting on TikTok. It's it's one of those places you have to be a little brave to jump into. So there's some tips going up on TikTok as well, which are fun, and they're all stemmed from the podcast and from my teaching as well. So yeah, but wonderful. Really the website's the best place.
Find you there. Well, good. Well, we know some folks will be doing that right away. So thank you for being a part of the festival this year, and hopefully we'll all be together in person next year.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you so much for having me.